Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. So in today's tutorial we shall be learning how to make an overbust corset, as you can see on the thumbnail. So this is an entirely different technique from what you have been seeing on my channel. So as you can see here, I have not marked out the shoulder measurement and the neckline. Like I said, it is an entirely different technique. Okay, so here I have my chest line, the bust point line, the under bust line, the half length, and then the hip line. Okay, so I am here to fix the corset top length. Okay, so now this line I marked here is my bust span measurement, which is 8 inches. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And if you've been in my class, you know that this is the starting line for the shoulder, and this is the starting line where I'll be fixing all my circumference measurements. So right here I have marked the bust span line. On the under bust, depending on the bust size you are working with or the bust circumference, you can decide to tighten the under bust by 1 inch on both sides, or 1.5 inch on both sides, or 1.25 inch on both sides. I marked 1.25 inch here and then 1.25 inch here. Now to get our over bust measurement, all you have to do is to measure the distance between your bust point and your under bust. So here I have 3.5 inch. Since I have 3.5 inch for the distance between the bust point and the under bust, I am going to take out 1 inch from it. So for my over bust, I am going to use 2.5 inch. So if you don't want it to reveal, let's say you are working for a plus size, instead of subtracting, you are going to add. Okay, so if it's for a plus size that doesn't want it to reveal, so instead of you to subtract from her over bust measurement, the distance between her bust point and her under bust, what you are going to do is to add to it. Okay, so let's say you have 3.5 inch for a plus size, you can add 1 inch to it so that it doesn't reveal, or even 1.5, depends on you. So now this line here is my over bust. I will just use OV. Okay, the over bust measurement. And for my contouring, I am going to also use 1.25 inch here also for my over bust contouring. Remember, I told us that this is an entirely different technique. Okay, so I'm going to mark 1.25 inch here and then 1.25 inch on this other side, making it a total of 2.5 inch. Okay, now if you don't want to use the same measurements here, you can also use 1 inch here, 1 inch here, and then 1.25 inch here, 1.25 inch here. The most important thing is that whatever you are using for your contouring, for your over bust contouring, it must be the same here. So you can use half inch here, half inch here, 0.75 inches, 0.75 inch, 1 inch, or 1 inch to mark this like so. So I want to connect my curve like so. I'm still going to highlight it so that we'll be able to see it clearly. Okay, so this is it, and then I'm going to connect the over bust like so. So I'll be showing us how to add a yoke and also attach your cap sleeve. Okay, so this class is loaded. Okay, having highlighted the contourings that we did, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my top length. So from the waistline, I'm going to come down by 6 inches. Okay, 6 inches. So the length of your top totally depends on your preference. So I'm going to mark 6 inches like so. So this is my top length. I'm going to mark it as TP, top length. So the next thing I'll do is to move my dart. So what I'm going to do now, instead of marking my dart straight, because this 2.5 inch here that we have here, I'm going to bring it down, but I do not want my dart to be straight. So what I'm going to do is to slant it. On this top length, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch here. Okay, so this is my 1.5 inch, and I'll connect it like so. From the under bust, I'm going to slant it this way because I don't want it straight all the way to the hem. And then from this 1.5 inch that I have here, I'm going to mark 2.5. Remember, 2.5 inch is what I have as my under bust, contouring, and over bust. So I'm going to mark it down. So I'm going to mark it here like so. So initially, I'm not supposed to mark this bust span measurement all the way to the hem. I was actually meant to stop the measurement on the under bust only, so I won't have too many markings here. So this is what I have. I'm going to highlight it. So I've successfully transferred my dart. Please, if you've watched this video to this point, don't forget to like, share, and leave your feedback. You can also ask questions. The waist measurement I have is 8.25. So on the waistline, which is the half length, I'm going to measure what I have from this center front to this dart leg. Okay, so when I measure it, I am going to use my pencil to highlight where it is, and then I'm going to cross it over to the next dart leg like so. Now the reason we are crossing it over, because remember this is a dart, we are cutting it out, so we are going to move it over like so, and then I'm going to mark my 8.25, which is here. Okay, now on the hip line, depending on how tight you want it to be, you can decide to use this part as your hip measurement. Now I'm going to do it so that you will get to understand what I am about to explain. So I'm going to measure what I have from this center front to this dart leg. I have about 1.25 inch here. I'm just going to highlight it, and then I'll move it over to the next dart leg, which is here, and I'll mark my hip measurement, which is 11 inches. That is here. Then on this top length, I am also going to measure what I have. So from here I have 1.5 inch, and then I'll move it over to this dart leg, and then I'll mark my 11 inches. Now I want to explain something to us on this hip line and top length. Now this is my 11 inches. On the bust line, let me explain this first. Now I want to connect something. Now if you look at here, this is the hip line, my actual hip line on my body, which is here, 11 inches here, and this is my waistline. If I want to connect this like so, this is what I'm going to have. Can you see the way it's looking? It is perfectly okay, and this is where the top length, the hip line, is. Now if you want something that is a bit fitted to your body, okay, you are going to make use of this hip line here. But let's say you want some ease around the top length, that means you are going to use the top length, this one that I have here, because this is the hip line to the waist, which is here, and then this is the top length hip line, which is here. So can you see the distance between it? So the difference I have between these two now is 1 inch. Okay, so if I use this one, it means I've tightened the top length by 1 inch. But if I go by this hip line that I have here, this hip measurement 11 inches, it means that this hemline of the top length is going to be a bit free. So I hope you understand this explanation here. You can watch it over again. Like I said, if you want the top length to be more firm, to be more fitted around your hip area, you can use this method. But if you want it a little bit free on the top length, use this very one. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to use because I don't want it going to my body. Then on the bust line, so the measurements we are going to use here is the bust divided by 4, okay, which is 10 inches. Now if you notice, I'm marking my 10 inches on the bust point line. Okay, it will help here to be fitted, so I'm going to mark it this way. Can you see? And then on this hip line, let's say you want something that is more free, you can use the curved part of this curve to mark the hip line here. Okay, like I said, I don't want this part to be firm to my body. I want something that is a bit free. So this is what I have. I'm going to measure what I have here from this center front to here. I am going to highlight it, and then I'll take it over here, and then I'll mark my 10 inches. So this is where my 10 inches is. Okay, so now this is a contouring. Okay, we are cutting it out, and ideally when you take out, you replace, because it's going to have a yoke. I highlighted this measurement for us to see. Can you see the way it is looking? So because this is where I marked my bust measurement divided by 4. which is 10 inches. So I highlighted it for us to see, and this is where my 10 inches is from my overbust measurement. This is my 10 inches. So now I want us to understand something. Remember that this is going to have a yoke, okay, and we are cutting out this, we must replace it. Okay, so what we are going to do now is that we are going to close this dart here and then fix our measurements. Now this is the simplest way, so that you'll be sure that all your measurements are accurate. Okay, so what we are going to do is to fold in this 1.5 inch here and 1.5 inch here. Remember it's 2.5, so we are going to fold it over like so. I've already folded it initially, so I'm just going to cover it back. I'm going to replace it back. So this is what I have. So this class, there's so much to learn from it. Okay, you can learn the drafting, you can learn the sewing technique, you can also practice the two different techniques and see which one works very well for you. So now my bust measurement is 10 inches, so I've closed this. I'm going to mark my 10 inches. If I measure what I have from here, this is it, from this point to my center front, it's not going to be up to 10 inches. What I have is about 7.5 inches, which means I've taken out a whole lot from my bust measurement. Now if I measure the over bust, I have about 7 inches or 7.25 inches there here. So my bust measurement is not complete. Okay, so now how do we do it? We have to complete it because my bust is 10 inches, so I'm going to mark 10 inches. So you can mark the 10 inches around your over bust or on the bust point line. So on the bust point line, this is where my 10 inches is. This is my 10 inches. On the over bust line, this is where my 10 inches is. So you must close it, because we can only close it to mark. This is my 10 inches also. We can only close this dart to get our yoke. Remember, we are cutting out, and then this is what we have. So you can either use this. So this is the 10 inches here, and this is my 10 inches here. If I use this one on the bust point line, this is where the way it's going to be. It will be going this way. Then I already have an excess added to my over bust. So, but I'm not going to use this this very one. I'm going to use here because I want tightening. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. Now it will not affect anything. Remember, this is a corset. Okay, this is a, even when we measure the waist, remember I've closed this dart. The waist is 8.25. I have my 8.25. The hip is 11 inches. I have my 11 inches here intact. So you must close it to get your measurement accurate. So I have highlighted this one with a black marker pen. I don't know if you can see it, but I only have black and green marker pen here. So this is the one we are using. Okay, we are not making use of this, just so you take note of it. So now, before I open up, let's mark out our shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15 inches, 7.5 inch here. And then on this upper part, I'm also going to mark 7.5 inch, which is here. For the neck width, I'm going to mark 3 inches. It's going to be 3. The neck depth, 3 inches. And then I'm going to connect like so. Okay. For my shoulder slope, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. This class is very detailed. Just take your time and watch it. Okay. Shoulder slope for the front, 1.5 inch. You can also use 1 inch. If I'm working for plus size, I use 1 inch. Okay, and this is it. Sorry, this is supposed to extend to the chest line. Okay, that is where my shoulder line is meant to stop, not on the over bust. Okay, so I'm going to mark the distance. The difference I have here, 7.5 inch. I'm just going to go up by 3.5 here, or 3 inches, and then I'm going to mark like so. Sorry, let me use 3.5, and then I'll come in here by 0.75 inch, which is here. Okay, and then I'm going to connect like so, and then I'll create my armhole. So this is very easy to do. Okay, it is very, very easy. So with this, we have created our yoke, and so I'm going to open it up so that we'll see what we have. This is it. This pattern is looking very nice. Okay, so I'm going to mark this up so that you will know that we are cutting this part out. So this part that I'm marking now is a dart, and we are going to cut it out. I'll still highlight the neck width that I want. Okay, so this is what we are cutting out. I close this back, as you can see, so that I can finish up with the neckline before I move over to the waist cinching. So for the neck width, I'm going to use 3.5 inch. Okay, so this is where my half is. For the wideness of the neck, I want 3.5, and also for the depth of the neck, I'm going to use 3.5 by 3.5, or 4 inches for the depth. Okay, now if you look at the one we have on our thumbnail, it is a bishop collar neckline, but I don't want a bishop collar neckline. I just want a regular neckline. Okay, so I'm just going to mark it this way. So you feel free to use any neckline of your choice. So this is for my neck width and my neck depth. And for the overbust, it depends on how you want it. If you want a sweetheart neckline, it totally depends on your preference. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this like so. I can just use my free hand and create a style line or curve line. Can you see? So if you want a sweetheart neckline, and then I'll connect this like so, or I can decide to do a scoop neckline. Okay, this part, so I want it as a scoop neckline, or maybe you don't want it so deep. It just depends on you. Just feel free to be creative with your neckline of choice or your preference. I'm just going to mark this like so. So can you see? So this is going to be my neck style line coming this way through to the armhole. Now this means that my yoke is going to go into my armhole. You can decide that you want your yoke to start from here. Okay, depends on you. Just be creative with the upper part, but this is what I have for myself. Okay, going all the way into the armhole. Okay, so this part is my yoke. So for our contouring, I am going to divide the hemline by 2 equal halves, or you can just decide to eyeball it. So for me, I'm just going to eyeball it. From this dart leg here, I'm going to mark 3 inches here. I'm going to mark 3 inches here, and then on the waistline, I'm going to share it into 2 equal halves. I have 6 inches here, so I'm going to mark 3 inches. I'm going to connect like so. So it's going to be slanted. So for my waist cinching, I'm going to take 1/2 inch on both sides. So 1/2 inch on both sides means I've taken out 2 inches from the front, and then I'll connect like so. So if you want, you can do 1 inch on both sides, but 1/2 inch on both sides is very okay for me. And then I'll connect like so. And if you notice, I didn't extend it to the hem. Okay, now the reason I didn't extend it to the hem is because I don't want the hem, like I said, I don't want the hem part to be tightened. So because if I had extended this way, by the time I connect this dart here, I would have taken out from this part, but I don't want it. Tie the hemline as you wish. So I'm going to close this dart like so, and I'll divide whatever I have here. I have 11 inches on the hip hemline, so I'm going to divide it by 2. So 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. Okay, and this is my 5.5. I've already marked it. I just want to explain what I did. So this is my 5.5 inch here, and on this 5.5 inch line, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. So this is my 1 inch here. Okay, then I'm going to connect like so. So I'm just going to use my free hand to connect this to the hem like so. Then from this center front line, I came down by 1 inch here like so, and then I'm going to connect like this. Now the essence of closing the dart before doing this is so that it will match up by the time you cut out or you want to join. So this is what I have. So feel free to style the hemline the way you choose. So this pattern is ready to be cut out. Feel free to ask any question. It's fully loaded. Watch to the end. The sewing parts, the finishing, everything. We are going to learn 1 or 2 things from it. And the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out. this is the cutout for the front pattern. But as you can see, I'm here to cut out the armhole because I want to explain something for us and to show that we are on the right track. I'm going to match up this like so, and then I'm going to bring this over. Can you see? And then I'll bring this. So can you see the way everything is matching up? Okay, now if we had used this very one, okay, this line here, which was the original line I talked about for our armhole, we are going to have this armhole being too deep. Okay, so and we are going to have this as shortage on our bust area. Now my explanation is on the yoke part. Remember, my yoke is going to get into my armhole. Okay, if your yoke is not getting into your armhole, you need to ignore this part I'm explaining now, because if I cut out the original line I have here, which is stopping at this part, I'm going to cut out this. Okay, and this part is going to go out. So but by the time I want to join my yoke, as you can see, if I cut out and end it here, it's going to stop here. That means my yoke is not going to get into the armhole, and depending on the kind of finishing, it's not going to get to this end. Depending on the kind of finishing you are going to use, you can ignore it. But for me, the kind of finishing I want to use is the type that this part I've already added half an inch from here to here to complete my armhole. Okay, so if you don't complete it, you're going to have a shortage by the time you want to add your sleeve. Please listen to this, watch this video very well, especially this part. So now I went ahead before cutting out to add half an inch here. Now this half an inch I added here is for my sleeve. Okay, when I want to transfer the this pattern to my yoke, I'm going to add another half an inch under here. Okay, so this remaining half an inch that I'll add on, that will be for the one I'll use to add to the fashion fabric. So by the time I add half an inch under here and then join it to the fashion fabric, after sewing, I'm going to have this excess fabric up here for my sleeve due to the kind of finishing I'm going to use. I hope you understand this explanation. So if you are using this my method of yoke, please, before you cut out this part, add half an inch. That means you're going to have an excess fabric pattern here, so that you can add your half an inch here, so that when you cut out, you will have your yoke complete. You won't have shortage around the armhole. So as you can see, we are on the right track. All the measurements are accurate and the pattern is complete. So this is it. So when we want to add our allowances, we will add half an inch just around here, around the shoulder, and then around the neckline, because I've already added at the armhole, so I won't need to add again. So the reason I did it is for me to be able to complete the armhole. I don't want to have shortage there. Can you see? So everything matches up. So we move over to the back. So this is the back pattern. So as you can see, I've impute my measurements. The shoulder, the neck width 3 by 3, neck depth 1 inch, shoulder slope 1 inch, the armhole here from the center back. This is the center back. So here is my bust measurement divided by 4. On the waistline, I marked my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that. Okay, so the waist is 8.25 plus 1 inch for that is 9.25. And then on the top length, I marked 11 inches, which is my hip measurement. Please ignore this line here. This is the bust line, the bust points line. It's an error. So on this back pattern, you're only meant to have the chest line, the half length, and then the top length. So now the next thing I'm going to do before I fix in my dart is to come in here on the waistline by 1 inch. So depending on your preference, you can do 2 inches, 2.5. How inward you are coming is how wide is going to be open at the back. So for me, I'm just going to do 1 inch here, and then on this upper part, which is the bust area, I am going to go in by 2 inches. Now the reason I'm doing 2 inches here is because I'm not taking out anything from the bust measurement. Okay, unlike the waist, remember on the front pattern I took out 1 inch for waist cinching on the front pattern, meaning I've taken out 2 inches from the front waist. Divide whatever I have here by 2. So I'm going to measure it. I have 8.25. So instead of marking exactly 8.25, what I'm going to do is I can decide to make here 3 inches here, and then whatever I have here, I have 5 inches, which is 2.5 inch. Okay, which is quite okay. Okay, now remember I told us I added 1 inch for that. So on this line, I'm going to mark half inch here and then half inch here. Okay, for my dart. Then on this other line here, I am going to cinch my waist by 1 inch. Remember, we cinched our waist at the front by 1 inch, so half inch on both sides. And then I'll connect in a straight line all the way up. Please feel free to ask any questions, and don't forget to like, share, give this video a thumbs up. We'll be doing the sewing video. One of us requested that I should try and be wearing the dresses after making it. Well, the ones I make with my measurements, I'll try as much as possible to try it on camera so that we'll see the fitting. But most of the times, they are usually for my clients. I can't try on my clients' dresses, okay? So please bear with me. But once you follow the techniques, you are going to get it right, either for yourself or for your clients, okay? So this is what I have. Okay, so this is our dart. This part is going out, so we are cutting this part out. The neck width is going to remain the same, 3.5 inch. Okay, so however you want your yoke to be totally depends on your preference. Okay, so you can be creative with the back yoke. So for me, I'm just going to maintain those 1 inch that I have here, 1 inch neck depth for the back yoke. Okay, and then here you can decide to come down here by 1 inch and then connect this way. It depends on you. Let your creativity guide you. But I'm going to leave my own straight because of the kind of design or style that I want to have here. But what I'm going to now, because if I cut out straight like this, okay, I don't want to have shortage around the sleeve, the arm's eye. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go up here by 1/2 inch. Now this 1/2 inch is my seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to add seam allowance here. Now the reason I'm adding this seam allowance now is so that by the time I cut out, I won't have shortage. Okay, it will guide me. I'll know, okay, I've added seam allowance for the arm side, and then I'll only add seam allowance on this under. Okay, so this is it. This is the front part and the side. Okay, so I want to explain something to us just so we know that everything is aligning. So this is the waist for the front. We are going to match it up like this, and then this is the yoke for the front, and then I'm going to align it this way. So can you see the way it is matching up? So with this now, my arm's eye or armhole is complete. Okay, you can even measure it if you wish. But once I draft like this, I am certain everything is complete. Okay, so now I want to flip it over this way because I want to make sure that this side matches up with this very one. So what I'm going to do is to match the waist together, align it, ensure the waist aligns. Can you see? Now here I have an extension here coming this way. So this is where it is. Can you see the length? So instead of me to trim out this excess I have here, it is better I extend it. Remember, on the front pattern we added a lot of that, so which extended the length of here. So now I am going to decide how I want the hemline to be on this back pattern. If you want, you can leave it straight. If you want, you can just connect it this way. Okay, totally depends on what you want, your preference. Just be creative. You can also have the same style line you have on the front on the back too. Okay, so you can decide to leave it straight like this, which is what I'm going to do for myself, or you can match it up. When you match it up like this, when you match it up this way, you can take note of here, and then you create a curve following here and then all the way to this part, and then you have the same thing on the front and on the back. But for me, I want my own to be straight, and this is pattern is ready to be cut out.